Hey, what's happening, guys? Today we have a pretty cool video. I actually will be upgrading one of my other systems from Ryzen 5 2600X to a Ryzen 7 3700X. And the CPU I'm getting brand new in a box from someone on Facebook for 160 bucks. Is this person stole it off the store shelves? I don't know. But we're paying 160 for it for a 8-core 16-thread Zen 2 part for 160. That's actually less money than I bought for a brand new Ryzen 5 2600X when it was first came out. And the 3700X is still going for like 300 bucks right now. This is brand new in the package. Am I actually getting a CPU? I actually don't know. All right, so we just got the processor. It is a Ryzen 7. There it is. Ryzen 7 3700X. In the box, brand fucking new. It's like, did she fucking steal it? I didn't ask her. I'm about to pop this in the system. But before we do that, I'm probably going to run some benchmarks. 2600X. Getting 2 more cores. We'll run some Cinebench and stuff. Good upgrade for 160 bucks. Pretty fucking cheap, too. So, guys, we have it. The Ryzen 7 3700X, a 3.6 gigahertz base clock, 4.4 gigahertz maximum. And this is the Ryzen 7 3700X. I got it for 160 bucks off some chick on Amazon right now. I don't even know what price they're going for. Right now, brand new, which is what I have acquired this at, is $329.99 at Best Buy or $350 at Walmart. So I would have to say I got a pretty good deal on a brand new CPU. What's nice about this one too is that this also comes with the AMD's Wraith cooler, which I don't need as I already have one in my system. Oh fuck! I have one already that I built in my system, and I got for 20 bucks actually. So I could probably sell this for probably 20 to 30 bucks or give it to somebody, and was a pretty decent deal at the time. And so in reality, this will be a great pairing and a better upgrade for the system that I'm using right now. I have a curious to see 6-core performance versus 8-core performance on last gen and 6-core performance on the oldest Zen Plus architecture. So I'm very intrigued. I'm very, very happy. Like I said, if you guys are trying to buy discounted products for computer parts, graphics, RAM, CPUs, check eBay, check Facebook Marketplace. That's where I buy a lot of these cheap builds. I have a PC that I'm probably going to be having on the channel here in a little bit. It's a $500 PC, and it comes with the Ryzen 7 3800X and I think it's a 2060 for 500 bucks. Keep in touch with your used parts because you'll find a gold gem like this, a last gen part, still in the box, still sealed. I don't know why they sold it for this price. Maybe the dude works at Amazon or AMD and gave it to me. It's cool when products come on like this. I sat back and I said, do I really need it? And when the offer came up, I said yes. Let's test out the Ryzen 7 3700X versus the Ryzen 5 2600X. 6-core versus an 8-core, and basically, what is the best offering? Obviously, I got a better deal because I bought this Ryzen 5 2600X 3 years ago, or whenever Zen 1 or Zen Plus was out. It was like 2.5 years ago. So the Ryzen 5 2600X, is it irrelevant? Is it worth jumping to the next step for 160? I'm already going to tell you the answer. It's yes. Obviously, the Ryzen 5 2600X, when I first bought it, I think it was like $220 to get the 2600 or the 2600X. It was actually cheaper at the time to get the 2600X. It was actually like about a year before Zen 2 came out, which would be this guy right here. So very interesting to see that kind of stuff. Let's open this bad boy. Got a knife here. Boom, it's open. We have the Ryzen 7 3700X. Looks to be brand new, never opened out of the package. Very awkward. There it is. Comes with the power cable, motherboard synchronization, pre-applied thermal paste, Yeah, this is sweet. So, let's test some stuff, Cinebench, stuff like that, and then we'll move to gaming real quick.
So, yeah. We're gonna be taking the CPU out, my old 2500X. I'm pretty sure I got the BIOS shit done. I'm not 100% sure though. We'll find out here in a minute if it works or not. So I take this cord, get these cords out. So this is always such a pain in the ass, man. There we go. Perfect. Get the CPU cleaned up. Pray to God this chipset's easy to swap over. I just use these alcohol prep pads from Walgreens. That's all I just use. They're just pads. They're pretty nice to use, honestly. They're not, you know, they're 70%. We prefer higher. But, you know, beggars can't be choosers. In this economy, it's hard to get isopropyl in COVID country. I don't know why. All right. I've had this processor for about a year and a half now. This is the Ryzen 5 2600 box I had from a previous thing I was working on. And I'll miss this. It's had plenty of life into this. And I'll miss this processor with dear love. A little old. I do have another new Wraith cooler, but I'm probably just going to sell that personally. So, and we're just going to test and make sure the CPU works on this motherboard with the BIOS configuration. The Ryzen 7 3700X I bought for 160 bucks. And as long as this has literally been unopened, dude. It's got the package and everything in here. Beautiful. Brand new silicon. I don't know, there's a watermark on there. Okay, that's on. We're going to apply some new thermal paste, which I have somewhere around here. Thermal paste I use a lot of is the Arctic MX4. Pretty cheap and gets the job done. I've never really had any complaints. Pea-sized dot around there is good. Oh, dripping. All right, it's on there. All right. Now, plug in the graphics card really quick. And we're going to boot it up like this just to make sure that it's going to work correctly. Turn the monitor on. Moment of truth. What's it got to flip the switch? Yeah, I don't have the update, so it's not working. Oh, did I boot in? I think I just booted in. Yeah, I did. Holy shit. There it is, baby. Ryzen 7 3700X. That was fan-fucking-tastic. Now it's time to test it because we tested all of our Ryzen 5 2600X stuff. Only 4 games, nothing super crazy. I was gonna do, I did CD Projekt Red's Cyberpunk.
I did Black Ops Cold War, CS:GO, and Doom Eternal. So we're gonna do that on the Ryzen 7. See how much our frames are improved. We're turn this off, make sure it works again. I'm gonna take a shower. The first game we're gonna be testing is Doom Eternal. The first one we're gonna do is the Ryzen 5 2600, which Doom Eternal averaged 164 FPS with a minimum frame rate of 122.5 FPS, maximum of 202, 1% low of 115.1, and a 0.1% low of 18 FPS. Which isn't bad, honestly. The Ryzen 7 3700, on the other hand, got 170 FPS, so about 5 more frames on average. The minimum frame rate is 142.3, a maximum of 200.2 again, 1% low of 126.7 FPS, and a 0.1% low of 54. So we doubled our 0.1% low. We pretty much got 10 more FPS, and as you can see, the FPS is just going crazy in the top right-hand corner. I forgot that the metrics were built into Doom Eternal, showing us FPS counters, CPU timings, and whatnot. So honestly, this is a really good benchmark for CPUs, even though the game may be run pretty much on any console at this point, including the Nintendo Switch. So let's get on to the next game, which is Call of Duty Black Ops. Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War averaged 112 FPS with the Ryzen 5 2600X. Minimum frame rate of 76.5, 142.5 frames per second. Maximum 1% low is 13.1, and a 0.1% low is 9.2 FPS. Not the best we could have asked for on these scores, but this game's probably pretty terribly optimized for PC, as I'm running this at ultra settings as well. I should have classified from the beginning. Ultra settings were used in all these tests. No ray tracing was used, as it really hinders FPS. The Ryzen 7 3700X on Black Ops Cold War did 129 FPS, so it did about maybe 15 FPS more. A minimum frame rate of 98.2, maximum of 128.6, 1% low was 27.3, and a 0.1% low of 21. So, I mean, we're getting about double the 1.1% lows and 1% lows than the 2600X, which is a phenomenal occurrence. Now, the infamous Counter-Strike Go. Counter-Strike on the Ryzen 5 2600X, we got a 191 FPS on average, which is a pretty decent one for a Zen Plus architecture CPU. I tried to do metrics on this video, but my afterburner wasn't really working that well, and yeah, we just got this flickering FPS bar. But 191 on the Ryzen 5 2600. On the Ryzen 7 3700X, we got 220 FPS. Pretty damn good. You see no lags or stutters in either of the clips that we get. Really a phenomenal experience here in terms of gameplay. We are running 32 gigs of RAM, so there's no RAM issues. The only game that I really found to be affected was CS:GO and Cyberpunk 2077, to say the least. And you'll find some Cyberpunk scores to be pretty immaculate when switching CPUs, which we'll talk about now. Cyberpunk 2077, a very demanding game. The Ryzen 5 2600X got a 34.2 FPS with a 0.1% low of 11.8. So, in terms, it did hit the 30 FPS minimum, which most games for me require that mark. But personally, I just think that FPS with 30 FPS average is not the most fluid and most, understood. This had, of course, ray trace turned off and DLSS turned off as well to really get the benchmarking of the game under wraps. The Ryzen 7 3700X definitely outperformed the Ryzen 5 2600 in this game by a absolute landslide. The Ryzen 7 3700X got a 62 FPS average, a minimum of 49.9, a maximum of 67.7, a 0.1% low of 33. So our 0.1% low was actually better than the average of the Ryzen 5 2600, which is pretty damn phenomenal, honestly, and looks way better. I really wish I would have finished Cyberpunk with these types of CPU and GPU combinations when I was testing it on the Ryzen 5 2600 for the most of the game. Really good game. And go to some Cinebench scores here, which is Cinebench R20. This finished in about 4 minutes on the Ryzen 5 2600. And honestly, 4 minutes isn't bad. I would definitely recommend better scores on most games now. This is an all-core load, so it does get about 2,000, which is pretty much expected. It's pretty much the same score I ran a couple years ago with my Ryzen 5 on a air cooler. We got a 2698, which is not bad, not terrible. The Ryzen 7 3700 got 5 million. Just kidding. The Ryzen 7 3700X really outperformed this. It did the Cinebench run in maybe 2 minutes 15 seconds, probably less than that. I'm not really sure. But it got 4,497, I do believe. Way better than I could have ever imagined in this run. So there you have it. The Ryzen 7 3700X obviously outperformed the last gen chip, obviously. And to my performance, really, depending on the type of game, can be somewhere to the point of 10 to 15 FPS to 30 FPS, according to Cyberpunk, which really made me think, how about rendering? This video that I've rendered up until this point, about 16 minutes, took about 32 minutes on my Ryzen 7 3700X, and the Ryzen 5 2600X took about 45 minutes. So, I mean, rendering's even cut down as well, which is a phenomenal thing to hear, especially from someone that does content creation for a living, for the most part. And this is just a great product. For me to be able to get this Ryzen 7 3700X for less than what I paid for a brand new Ryzen 5 2600X is an amazing experience. Now is the time to buy Ryzen, old Ryzen if you are. If you have a Ryzen 5 1600 laying around, you can go on Facebook or eBay and maybe find a Ryzen 7 3700X or even maybe Ryzen 9 3900 for maybe $200-300, less than what they were coming out back then. I happen to get probably the luck of the century, getting an unopened box and getting it for freaking half the price. That's probably one of my favorite things is bargain hunting, and I like to share bargain huntings on my channel, the COD Black Ops Kid, as well as Dylan's Tech Show. I like to do these types of videos. I prefer you guys checking out more content on my other channel to see Tech Tuesdays, which is one I recommend watching if you guys are into tech. We do a tech review, unboxing, stuff all the time. So I definitely prefer and would be appreciative if you guys check those videos out in the future. We do computer builds. We will be starting those again here soon. We have a pretty interesting computer build coming up on this channel on DTS Customs or Dill's Tech Show. So please check it out. My name is Dylan. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please subscribe, like the video, and share it with your friends. We'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.